recording. I have started the recording, and yesterday we have seen these things, right? So yesterday we have seen how to create component, how to use different commands, and other things that we have seen yesterday. How many of you have done the homework? Can you please tell me? How many of you have done the homework? So there was some homework yesterday.
I have done.
Can you share the screen?
Yes, sir. But there is a CSS problem.
Yeah, fine. You can solve that later on, but show me what you have done.
Yes, sir.
I'm stopping my presentation so you can present your screen. Okay. So just start presentation. Prathamesh. Vaibhav, what about you?
Can't able.
Vaibhav, what about you?
Sir, one error on the environment. Environment.
Okay. Okay, got it. So remember that you all need to push your codes. Kindly create your personal repositories and push your code to the personal repository so I can check over here if you get any error. Okay. So Prathamesh, you can do it later on. Let's start the session. Yeah, but I would like to see your data, Prathamesh. So our today's topic.
I have uploaded it on GitHub.
Okay, fine. So today I'm going to start something called as view encapsulation. Right? What's that? View encapsulation. Remember that. So I'm going to create another project for that view encapsulation, right? In the workspace, I'm going to create another project. Presently I have 3 projects: Angular batch project, my first lib, and my first app, right? So I'm going to create one more project. Can you tell me the command? What is the command? And from that command you create a project. What is that command? How to create a project? ng generate. Yes. Application. And name of the application? View encapsulation. Remember that when you are working on your real-time projects, you don't need to do these projects again and again like I'm doing right now, right? So for just your explanation and your understanding purpose, I'm creating these projects separately. Otherwise I can write everything inside this thing, but that won't be creating the proper understanding, right? That won't be creating the proper understanding, and that's why I'm creating a separate project for each concept. I'm saying for each concept. So if there is a forms, I would be having a separate project. If there is a services, I would be having a separate project, something like that. Okay, so remember that I would be creating separate project each concept, per concept. Now it will take a moment to create the project. Yeah, it is still installing the packages, if you can see my screen. It is installing the packages and it will take little time. Yeah. Now if you go here, can you see here? So here you get view encapsulation, this project. Now what I want to do, I want to run this particular project. What's the command? ng serve or npm start -project is view encapsulation. Can you see ngserve view encapsulation, the particular project we are running now? If you build straight away ngserve, if you make ngserve, the default project would be getting loaded. But if you want to load other than the default, you need to hit this command. Remember that whenever you are building your applications in your real-time projects, you don't need to do something like this, right? You can do everything in a default project. If you go in angular.json, can you see, just go, can you see default project is angular batch project. This project is the default project, which is, you'll not find directory for this directory like this, like angular batch project under the project directory. You'll not find that directory because everything would be under the source directory. Whatever is a default, that default will go under the source directory, and non-default projects, that will go under the project directory. And if you want to run the project directory, ngserve view encapsulation. If you just make ngserve, if you just make what, ngserve, it will load the default project in the browser. Okay, now you can see localhost 4200, it will point to the new project, which is nothing but the view encapsulation. Okay, let me close this file. Now let me go to the view encapsulation, and here you will have one component called as, sorry, Control A and delete everything. I don't need anything presently. Well, if you want to load the bootstrap, just copy this file, because npm start we already have done. Just go to the CSS, and into that you can put like this, right? So your styles.css would be having this thing. Okay, under the view encapsulation, now I would like to create one component. Let's go, and here you can say npm, what is the command for creating new project? Nggc, name of the project child1, I can say child1. Okay, remember that you need to provide project also. In which project now? I want to project in what? View encapsulation. In this project I want to create child1 component. Remember that if you remove this thing, the child1 would be getting created in default project. Let's hit the enter and see what happens. Can you see under the projects there is a view encapsulation, under that src, under that app, under that child1, css has been created, app child1, this has been created. But look at this is getting created under the specific project. See, this child1 is inside view encapsulation. Okay, so what I would like to have, I would like to write the edge or div, or you can say, who is there? Okay, so I can say dot container dot row dot col. Okay, dot col. Now here I can say paragraph, and to the paragraph let me attach one class called as alert, and alert info, or yeah, alert info. And here you can write some nice text. Just go to the angular.io, just for getting text, some random text. I would like to have this text. You can get that and paste here, right? So your alert will look like this. If you want to give some margin to this row, I can say empty 2, margin top 2. I would like to have this thing. Okay, some margin. Now what I will do, I'll go to the CSS app, this CSS, and I can say if there is a paragraph, please border it. Border 1px solid and the red. 1px solid. Can you see the alert is getting bordered because of it is paragraph. Now I'll go to the child, and here also there is already paragraph. I'll just say class. Let me add one class, and you can say class alert and alert danger. Okay, and some text we can have. So I can have, sorry, related way I can have this text. And let me put it here. Okay. So I'm putting this text here, and still you haven't added the child one, right? So you can have, well, we can have a column .col, and into that app hyphen child one. I can have something like this. So there would be the two columns, and in the two columns app child one alert danger, and it should come here. Any error we have, make sure that you will check the inspector console time to time to get the things. App child 1, app child 1. What is the reason? Alert DANJ, spelling is correct. Alert, alert danger. Instead of that, if I write something like this, then yeah, now it is coming, which means that there is a problem with some app child 1 component. So let me go to the child 1, app child 1, and if you go to the HTML, there is a paragraph, and to that paragraph alert class is alert info, then how come body app root so it is that paragraph. Yeah, can you see app child 1 is there inside this column? This column is getting added, but what happens to the app child 1? In the app module, child 1 component is there, child 1 component.html alert info. So let me remove the classes and see. Yeah, there is an error. Template URL app component HTML app child 1. Error occurs in the template of component app component. App hyphen child 1, app hyphen child 1. Is this the error, or what is the error? Class alert alert info. There is an error. some error is there. The class child1 is listed in the declarations of the ng module but not a directive component or pipe. Either remove it from the ng module. What happens to the child1 component now? App child1. Let's close all the things. View encapsulation, source, app component HTML. Can you see the error? Template of the app component HTML. C should be caps of child1. Call 6 is not needed. C should be caps. No, C is not cap over here. App child1. Class child1 component. Child1 component. Let's try in this way. Let's stop the server and start the server again. We might be correct, but there might be some issue, right? Because I don't see any problem. Anyone see any problem in this? Compile successfully. Yeah, still there is an error. Template URL app component HTML. Well, then why this error is not showing inside the console? Okay, let's stop the server and start it again. If app child1 is an Angular component, verify that it's a part of this module. Okay. App child child1 app child1, everything is correct. App component ts. Okay, now see, can you see the error is of your CLI was not replicating the changes. This was the problem actually, right? We had to start the server again and then problem has been resolved. Can you see, I just have started the server again and then the problem has been resolved. See, sometimes you need to do this also, because there was no error or there was no problem in the code at all, right? It was a pretty clean code, but it was giving you the problem. Okay, now my concern is that if you go to the app component HTML and child1 HTML, can you see here is also paragraph, here is also paragraph, here is also paragraph, and here is also paragraph. But if you go here, only one paragraph is getting bordered, although you have written style inside the parent CSS. Can you see, this is the app component CSS, means you have written the paragraph in the top or parent CSS, right? So what may be the concern? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me the concern? Hello? If you get the concern, please tell me. What is the problem? Why this is getting bordered and why this is not getting bordered? What is that thing? this is getting bordered, but this is not getting bordered. How come it is possible? Because you have let me draw and tell you what I mean to say. If you see this, let me go to the sketchpad. Okay, now this is your root component, that is app component, and it has its own CSS. It has its own CSS. So it has its own CSS and it has its own HTML, right? And the root component is having one child, that is nothing but child 1. Now you have written to the paragraph, you have applied, if there is a paragraph you need to apply the border, and there is also one paragraph. So according to you, you have written the CSS in the parent. That CSS should bleed through, what you can say, all the children. Am I correct? If you do this thing, getting overwrite, okay, getting overwrite is one answer. Another answer? So this CSS to the paragraph need to be applied to this paragraph also. This border, whatever code you have written, that needs to be applied to this paragraph also, because this child 1 is a child of the root component. Child 1 is the child of what? Root component, and that's why the CSS should flow through the child. That is the theory actually, but it is not happening in the Angular. Can you see? So paragraph in the parent is bordered and not this. Anyone want to answer what's happening exactly? Getting overwrite is a one answer, right? Prathamesh, if you get an error, there is no concern with the CSS, right? Either you have a problem in the code, or you have a problem in the something, you need to rerun it. Getting overwritten, any other answer? Vaibhav Katkar. Hello, Vaibhav Katkar. Parag, where is Parag? Vaibhav? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, where is Parag? Okay, fine. So the concern about this concept is nothing but the Angular's style. Just go to the inspector, right? And can you see to this paragraph? So I'm pointing to this paragraph in this alert. Can you see it has added something underscore ng content vxxc12. It has added something like this. And if you go to this, right, if you go to this had something ng content underscore vxxc11 and c12, ng content c11 c12. And Angular, what Angular does is that Angular wraps all of its content in one capsule. This is one capsule. So CSS you have written for this component should be applicable to this component only. They will not flow inside the child until you make a arrangement specifically. Any component, if you have created a child and this child is having some CSS, that will limit inside this child only. that will limit inside, or that are limited for this child only. If you have another and you created another component, you have written some CSS, or here also you have created one child, here you have created one child, and here you have written one CSS for that child. Remember that this is applicable to this component only, because Angular's default, what you can say, Angular's default strategy of view encapsulation, I'll show you. Just go to the component and see view encapsulation, view, or just encapsulation, view encapsulation dot, you can see, can you see, emulated, native, none, and shadow DOM. Here native is deprecated now, right? If you say none, none means no view encapsulation strategy. See now, let's go to the none first. No view encapsulation. I would like to show you the source code of the view encapsulation. So if you go, there are three types of the view encapsulation. I don't know why it's not going to the source code, but it generally navigates Studio. Generally, if I hit the control, and the encapsulation, it takes me to the particular source code, but I don't know why that is not happening right now. See, do not provide any template or style encapsulation. None means do not provide. I'll show you here. Angular view encapsulation. Angular, I need a default angular.io. Style scope. See, the style specified in the component, specified in add component metadata, apply only within that template of the component. Remember that, right? Within that template of the component, and how to access outside, that we'll see just in a moment. But I want to show you the view encapsulation. See, as discussed earlier, component CSS styles are encapsulated into the component's view, and doesn't matter, and it doesn't affect rest of the application. Remember that. To control how encapsulation happens per component basis, you can set the view encapsulation mode in the component. Choose the following. One is a shadow DOM, then there is a native, then there is a emulated, and then there is a none, right? None means that Angular does no view encapsulation. Angular adds the CSS to its the global styles, and the scoping rules, isolations, and the protections discussed earlier don't apply. This is essentially the same thing as you are pasting the component style into the HTML. So this is normal, like normal HTML and the CSS, it will work, right? None. Then another is shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is supported by, what you can say, some browsers right now. View encapsulation uses the browser's native shadow DOM. Remember that when you do the shadow DOM, you are focusing on the native functionality of the browser. You are depending on the native functionality of the browser, and results may change browser to browser. The DOM of the particular browser, you are accessing what? DOM of the particular browser. View encapsulation uses the browser's native shadow DOM implementation, right? To attach a shadow DOM, you'll see now what is happening. See, something different is happening over here, right? Now if you go to the inspector and child one, can you see shadow root? It has added something called as shadow root. So browser, your Chrome works in this way, your Firefox works in this way, another way, then Safari will work in another way. The shadow DOM implementation is different for the different browsers, right? And it will access that particular one. That's why it is shadow root, and under that shadow root it will load all the DOMs. But remember that generally you need to use native, not native, emulated, which is nothing but the default strategy. Can you see? Means, what is the default strategy? That every component will create its capsule, and the CSS will not be passed to its children or any another components. CSS won't be passed to its children or another component by means of adding some special identifier. If you go here, can you see ng content bhs c12? Now see, it has changed than earlier, and here bhs ng content bhs c12, and here to the paragraph, can you see ng content bhs c11? So if I make, instead of 11, if I make 12, this will also getting bordered. Can you see? This is also getting bordered. So instead of 11, I make what? 12. Then it is getting bordered. Means this is through the, what you can say, particular container. This is through the container, and if you have another child, or if you have another child, for that particular child there would be the separate content like this. So root component, there would be the separate container. For the child one, there would be the separate container. For the CSS, there would be a separate container, and this container has some ID, right? This container has some ID, and by means of ID it is differentiating, right? Some IDs are there. Just hold a moment, I need to get the call. Okay, so any question? Anyone is having any question? So what it does, for every component, Angular creates one ID. For every component, Angular creates one ID, and on the basis of that ID, Angular differentiates, what you can say, the components. On the basis of that particular ID, Angular differentiates the component, right? Angular differentiates the component, and that's why this is not working. This is getting bordered, but this is not getting bordered. This is getting bordered. Sorry, this is getting bordered, and this is not getting bordered. Well, there are some ways to do that. Can you see this part? So loading the styles. So Angular says that if you want to target yesterday someone has asked question how to write a style that can target, what you can say, that can target the particular component, particular CSS, or you can write one CSS and that is applicable to the particular or all the children. How to do that? Let me show you. Now here you have written the CSS, but remember the concern. You have written CSS over here, and that CSS is not applicable to the child one. You have written CSS over here, that CSS is not applicable to the child one. You have written CSS over here in the parent, but not applicable to the child. How to do that? Writing a common CSS. So you go here and you just add double colon ng deep. Ng deep means what? Children. Go to the children. So nothing is happening, and here you can say colon host, as well as, just let me save it. Yeah, now see. So here you are saying host means what? Current component. Ng deep means what? All the children. So apply CSS to the current component as well as to its all children. Wherever you find P, please border it. That's what you are saying, and it is working in that way. But remember that there is a capsule. Remember that still there is a separation by means of IDs. Still there is a separation by means of IDs. Let us see what's happening exactly. Not this. Inspector body, this. App child HGG, can you see HGGC11, and can you see still the ID is different, ng content HGGC12 to this paragraph and ng content HGGC11. Now it writes the styles. It writes the styles like you write a style in the common CSS and then you reflect it. So here you are saying, and this is a perfect way of writing a one CSS and getting applied to the multiple components. So this is a parent, this is a child, and inside parent and child, if there is a paragraph, kindly border it with the red color. That's what we are telling over here, right? So view encapsulation is nothing but creating the capsule and giving some IDs. That is nothing but what? View encapsulation. Now, and that's why the CSS are not getting transported from the parent to child. If you want to transport the CSS from the parent to child, you need to use something called as ng-deep. Remember the syntax, there is a colon. Okay, it is like that. So this is about view encapsulation. Well, anyone is having any queries, please ask me. Anyone is having any queries? You can ask me your queries. No? Okay. What I'll do, I'll push this much code, and here I can say view encapsulation, view encapsulation, here understanding, and ng deep. Let me push this much code and push. The topic was a little bit theoretical. Okay, now next topic I'm going to start something called as data binding. What's that? Data binding. I have pushed the code. If you want to check, you can check in a 2 minutes. We'll be back, or we'll continue in a 2 minutes. Okay, I have pushed the code. Someone please send the, what's that? We need to, no, not install. You just need to copy paste the CSS. You don't need to install. npm install. See, you have only one package.json. Package.json is not different per project. If you see, there is no package.json in this project. There is no package.json in this project. Okay, this is a library. That's why it is having. And if you see view encapsulation, there is no package.json. Right, package.json is available in the project level. See, and Bootstrap you have already installed in a project level. So you don't need to install Bootstrap again and again if it is an application project. Fine. So I have pushed the code. Please check the code, what I did exactly. And if you get any queries, you can ask me. Just 2 to 3 minutes, huh? Not more than that. So I'm stopping the presentation. I hope you have completed. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. And let us start with something called as data binding. Let me create a new project again. Tell me the command ng application and data binding. Remember that this project or this concept is extremely important. This concept is extremely important. Very, very important concept. that is nothing but the data binding, normal CSS. This project or this concept is very important of Angular data binding. Well, let's get it's created. Now what is data binding? You'll ask me the question. Remember that here is your view, and here is your script. View is nothing but the complete the complete HTML. Whatever HTML you have written for the particular template, whatever HTML you have written for the particular components template, right? That one, what does Angular parses this complete HTML and creates one object. That object is called as what? View. That is nothing but what? View. So if it is an app component's view is getting created. This is the app component TypeScript file or the TS file. Now here is one variable, say name. I can have something called as name over here, right? Name. And here is a paragraph which shows that name. You can say the particular name I want to show over here, right? I want to show this variable to the paragraph. I want to show value of this variable to the paragraph. What I'm saying, value of this variable to the paragraph. Getting that? We want to store value of the variable to the paragraph. One more thing, here I have one input box, right? As I'm typing, I can say an input box is for mobile number. So this is a number, another variable. So the value of the input box need to be assigned to this variable, and value of this name is assigned to this paragraph. Remember that the data flowing between your view and the template, or HTML and the template, data flow between your view, I can say this is a view, to the script, I can say this script. Data from view to the script and script to the view is called as data binding. So binding of this name variable to this paragraph and binding of this input box to the variable, right? If there is one button, consider that if you want to click this button, then one function from the script needs to be called. Some function from script needs to be called. So if you click this button, function from this needs to be called. This is also binding. This binding is called as event binding, and this binding is called as property binding. There are two types of bindings in Angular. First one is property binding, right? Property binding, which is written in the rectangular brackets, right? And there is something called as event binding, which is represented in round brackets, So property binding and the event binding are the two types. Properties of the HTML elements are going to be bound, and events of the HTML are going to be bound by means of these two bindings. So property binding and event binding are very important things to understand, and we are going to learn these things only, how these things are working. Okay, so let me start the which project? npm start -- project would be data binding. Okay, I'm starting the project, which is nothing but the data binding. So projects, under the projects there is one data binding, right? Under that source, let me have the bootstrap. Just go to the CSS, and I'm copying that and pasting into the CSS of this. I'm pasting into the CSS of this. Okay, now let's go to the app component HTML. Here I can say dot container dot row, and like that, dot container dot row, and something like that. Now what we need to do here is that I would like to have one variable in the TS. See, title is nothing but what? Data binding. So we can have h3 over here, and topic is, I can say topic is, right? And I want to show whatever value is assigned to the title, whatever value assigned to the title. So can I write title right away like this? Will it work? How many of you think it will work? Topic is title. So I have written title is a variable inside the TS. This is a TS, right? So title is a topic inside TS, and I'm saying topic is title. I want a value of the title variable. How to get the value of the title variable? Will it work? Okay. Why it will not work? Why? What's the reason? I got your no, but what's the reason? Okay, fine. Now see, there is something called as interpolation binding, string interpolation. So you can say double curly braces, and here also double curly braces. So you are saying that topic is value of the title. String interpolation, we call it as what? String interpolation. Whatever value of the topic is there, that is going to be assigned. And let's style it, style, and here you can say text, sorry, not style, class, bootstrap class, and text muted, little bit grayish one. And if you go here, can you see topic is data binding? So if I change the value, if I make D and B capital, D and B capital, and if you save it, see, automatically it would be getting changed. D and B is capital. If I make again small, data binding, and if you go here, it will automatically become small. Well, here you can make some operations also, like to uppercase. I want to take this title to the uppercase, and go here. Okay, I think that function is not available. Just C is not capital over there. To uppercase, I think C is capital, R was missing. To uppercase. Can you see data binding? Well, if you want to write some functions over here, you can write a function, say title info, one function, and it would be returning here you can say version and dollar title one, something like that. Remember that you need to point by means of this dot title, something like that. I am just making random stuff, and if you want to call that function, you can call that particular function also. And I will say title info. Here instead of this, I can call the our function also, title info, right? Can you see topic is this binding? something like that. Topic is version 1 data binding 1, version data binding 1. Some random text I'm trying to write over here, right? Title info and these things. So this thing is called as string interpolation. What we are going to call it as string interpolation. Okay, so make sure that you will have column for this. Do not write like this, it is wrong. Straight away writing in the rows. You need to have some top level container as per the bootstrap analogy. Okay, column. Now another type of data binding is, you can say, I have a row again. I have a row, inside that dot col, and inside that there is an input. Input type is equals to what? Text. And I want to assign some value. See, value rectangular brackets is equals to title. Title is a variable whose value would be getting assigned to the property input type value, right? We use, there is HTML5 element, that is input. Likewise, type is there. Type is also property, value is also property, but in the Angular I have bound that property. You can bound type also, right? I have bound that property by me with one variable is called as title. You go to the title over here, here is the title, and to the title you have assigned data binding as a value, and you can expect value as a data. Can you see? Value is a data binding by default. Now if I refresh it, by default there would be data binding. Can you see that? This is the value you have assigned. Then I can have value can be anything, right? Now consider that there is a style, or I can say BRD, border, is equals to 1px solid and the red, 1px solid and the red. So here you can have input box, input type text, and I can say, see, this is attribute binding. Remember that style dot border is equals to, you can say, BRD variable. Style dot border is equals to BRD variable. Now if you go here, and can you see red border is there to the input box. Well, let's write this in the division so that one below other it will come. See this data binding and this division. Can you see style dot border? Well, it is similar to the writing, like you have style is equals to border is equals to your 1px solid red. It is similar to writing this, right? But remember that this cannot be assigned to the variable, this much part. You can assign it, right? But that is not a correct way. And that's why Angular says that you can use the style attributes at property binding like this. You can use a property binding like this. Style dot border is equals to attribute, right? Style dot border is equals to variable BRD, and this BRD variable is here, BRD 1px solid and the red. Okay, any question you have? If you have any question, please ask me. Any question? In the binding, interpolation binding, interpolation binding,
sir, I have one question.
Yes. Can you speak it loudly a little bit?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We are using in both ways value and just passing this. So what is the advantage of
Value and
value and this type of square bracket, angular bracket?
no. In which line you can tell me? Here.
This is yeah.
This
Using
line?
value and yes, value and style dot border. So in both ways we have using, but what is the advantage of?
See, value, likewise style is attribute. Value is also one standard attribute of HTML, right? Where you can assign something like this. And if you do like this, it will show you that particular value. Getting that?
Okay.
That particular value. And here you can bound to the type also, not an issue. So you can have one variable typ is equals to text. And here you can say txt. typ, sorry, variable name is a typ. We have one variable which is nothing but typ and whose value is text, and then you are assigning to this. There are many properties, right? One HTML element has many properties: width, height, value. So anything can be bound by means of property binding. So if you want to bound value also, you can go to the value and bound it with your, what you can say, what's that, title.
Type.
Title is also variable. And this, see, the way you write the style normally, this is the way of the property binding with the style. This and this are same, right? But style is one property to every HTML element. If you go to the HTML element, style is a property. Can you see? Style is a property, and inside that style there is one attribute called as border,
Yes,
and there is a, to that border we can assign value 1px solid red. Now how to write this by means of property binding is that way. Style, make a property binding. Property, style is also property, remember that,
yes.
right? And there is one attribute inside that style that you can access border. Angular has given you this facility, and you can assign a variable, a value. See, value I am saying 1px solid red. That value either can be stored in a variable or you are straight away assigning like this.
Okay.
Either this can be stored, same thing we have stored in a variable. If you see, same thing we have stored in a variable. Either you can assign this variable or you can assign the BRD. Someone is having one more question. Is that okay, Mayur?
Okay. Means we are using in both ways.
Yes.
Either in this way or in this way.
This way.
Okay.
See, this is the property binding only, just the variation. This is the advancement of the property binding. This is the property
Okay.
style. The property style you have bound, but inside that style, which attribute you want to bind? Because style is having many things, right? Width is there, height is there, font is there, font color is there, foreground is there, background is there. But amongst that style, which exactly? Amongst that style, I want to work with the border style, and that's why you. Hello? Yes. Hello? And you can make style.color also. Style.color is equals to what? Remember that you need to pass the value. You cannot straight away write red over here. Either that can be stored in a variable or make a value. See, if you go here, can you see it is also coming in the red color you have assigned, right? So how do you write this style in the CSS? You go to the CSS and you can say my style, or you create a class CLS, and in that class you can say border, and then you can say 1px solid red, and then you can say color, you can say red, like this, right? These properties. So in the HTML, these properties can be bound by means of class or the hash. You can write hash here if you want to create something to the particular ID, but hashes don't use in Angular. You can create a style and you can apply this class over here. something like this, right, Mayur?
Okay,
Hello?
okay, yes.
Got it?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so there is a one more question. Which one comes under one way and the two way? Just hold on. All these are the one way binding, because values are flowing from, if you can see, values are flowing from one, just a moment, if this is your input box and this is your variable, right? This is your variable and this is your element. So presently values are flowing from the variable to the element. This to this is not happening right now. Element to the variable is not happening right now, right? So from variable to the element, element to the variable is called as two-way, right? But Angular doesn't support two-way binding internally. At its core, it is not a two-way binding. We can make it two-way. How to make it, we'll see a little bit later on, right? Once we learn the event binding. Anyone is having any question? But it is presently one way, variable to the element. Now from the element to the variable, we'll see in a moment. Any question? Yes, any question? If you have any question, please ask me. Priyanka, is that okay? Hello? Priyanka?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. Anyone is having any other question? Okay. What's that? What is it? Where did you get this, Prathamesh? This is not concerned with the data binding. This is a little bit altogether new concept, which comes under the entry components. But where did you get that? Anything related to the data binding right now? I'm going to touch this part. I'm going to cover this part when we learn the entry components, right? But this is not concerned with the data binding right now. We are going to cover it, but later on in the next chapter, new chapter, entry components. Anything related to the data binding, whatever we have learned so far, right? Okay. Now you have written a class, right, which gives you border, and or you can say only red. Name of the class would be what? Only red. Just give very significant names. Only red is the name of the class. And I can have one more page division, and into that there is one input box. And here you can say likewise that style dot border, I can say class dot only red. And here you need to pass true or false. If you apply true, the only red would be getting applied to this. Can you see? Applying class or not, applying or removing class, and if you make a false, that class won't be getting applied. Same property binding. This is also property binding. Can you see? Now class hasn't been applied. Now in a native JavaScript, we do add class and remove class, right? This is nothing but that, this part. And we add the style dynamically. Document.getElement by ID. The particular ID dot style dot border is equals to this value. We do in a native JavaScript, a DOM manipulation. And how do we do that? Get the element, find element by ID, then add a class and the remove class. See, by means of just variable value you are doing that thing, add class and remove class. or add style and remove style. Value, how do you bind with the properties? How do you bind with the properties and its attributes? How do you bind with the particular classes? Remember that this class you have written. Well, if you want to do with the bootstrap classes, that is also possible. Class.alert. If I make true, just refresh it. Okay, so I'm applying this on the, what you can say, input box. And one more class, two classes I want to apply. Alert info, and I can say true. Can you see? Input box has changed. Alert has been applied on the input box. If you make false, it won't work because alert won't be getting applied. Something like that. Addition and the removal of the classes. You can add classes dynamically. Just make a true and false. These two classes would be getting added. So you can do something like that. You can have is input alert, you can say false. Is input alert false, you can say. And here you can assign is IPAL, is IPAL, and see presently it is a false. If you change the value of a variable to true, you will find this. Can you see? Means if the value of the variable changed sometimes later, you can write, let me write a constructor, or we'll see that just a moment how to do that. Means whatever I am doing, please forget for this lecture. On the upcoming lecture or on the next weekend, I am going to cover this on init. ng on init. So forget about right now what I am doing, right? So what is a ng on init and what is this, we will see on the next weekend. Presently just forget about it. What I want to do, I want to write the timeout. Set timeout after how much second? So this is the function we need to write. Lambda I am writing, and after these many milliseconds I am going to change value of this dot IPAL is equals to true. So at the beginning it is what? False. Now just go to the project and see, after a few seconds it becomes the alert. Can you see that? I'll increase the timing. After that particular timeout, from the normal text box it becomes the something special text box, right? So this is nothing but what? Addition and the removal of the classes by means of class and the particular name of the class, and this is the variable, this is also variable, something like that, right? This is the value, remember that. This is the variable, this is the value, this is also value, this is a variable, like that. This is a value. If you want to pass value straight away, make sure that you will make in the quotes if it is string. Here you don't need to write in the quotes because it is a boolean. For this you need to pass true or false, class.alert. If you want to enable the particular class, make it true. If you want to disable particular class, make it false, something like that. Okay, any questions on this? Well, then next thing is about what you can say property binding, event binding. Let's have a row dot colmd and the 12, sorry, we don't need a 12 columns right now. Just get it automatically. Well, before that, I think I need to push the code, and here I can say data binding, and I can say in the data binding I can say property binding. Okay, please go through the code in 2 to 3 minutes. Again we will start. Okay, just go through the code in 2 to 3 minutes. How to bind? How to bind two components means exactly what you want to say, Prathamesh. Can you give me a real-time example? Hello? How to bind two components means what? Inter-component communication is possible, but what do you mean by this? Header and footer. Can you say that again? Just come over the audio and please ask the question. I'm not getting. Header and footer I want to bind means like styles or CSS. Hello? Okay. Header and footer I want to bind means like styles or so you want to share the CSS, you mean to say. No, see, some properties of you would be having something. There would be one page division, right? I want to bind some properties of header. See, properties of head, not header. You are understanding something wrong. Properties of elements. Remember that element can be div, that element can be span, that element can be anything. Properties of any HTML element you can bind with. Right, so in the header you want, if you have some page division, and in the footer you have some page division, so you can bind with the properties of the divisions like width and height, background color, foreground color, that you can bind by means of same thing like this. Type typ style.border class.onlyRed, right? So these are the only things. So if you want to bind with the style, you need to know the which style, presently border style. If you want to bind with the class, which class, right? But all other things are same. If you want to bind with, you can say style dot width. You can say if width is in the pixel, you can write px, and here you can say 800 pixel. Width would be 800 pixel, something like this. This would be your footer. You can say, you can write this division in the footer. You can write this division in the footer and apply style in this way, right? Is that your question, Prathamesh? Okay, so see, any HTML element can be bound. Whatever properties are there for the HTML elements, all that can be bound. Properties of HTML elements. Style is a property that can be bound. In addition to that, there are 1000 styles. Style.border that can be bound with the variable. There are million classes you can write. So here I have created one class, onlyRed. So you can say class.onlyRed. Right? True or false. Presently it is a false. Class.alert is dependent on the value of the variable is IPAL. Is depending on the value of the variable is IPAL. You can bind it. Something like that. Properties of the HTML element can be bound. Remember that properties of any HTML element or any properties can be bound. Okay, Prathamesh? Okay, yeah. ng non-bindable in the string interpolation. ng non-bindable, is it from the Angular 2? ng non-bindable, what is that? ng non-bindable, I literally don't know what is that, but we can see that ng non-bindable, ng non-bindable not working in Angular 2. I want to display. So can you please elaborate this? Interviewer asked me the question, and what was the question? What is the use of ng non-bindable in string interpolation?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. He asked me about ng non-bindable when he was asking me about data binding.
Okay. But ng non-bindable is available in Angular or not, or it's the part of Angular JS. See, it is coming from the Angular JS.
Okay.
Right, this is not a part of Angular 2. This is a part of Angular 1.8.
Okay.
Right, so this is not coming from the Angular 10.0, Angular 6.0, 8.0, 4.0, 2.0. So he's asking you the question from the Angular 1.5. So so it was an Angular 2 interview or Angular JS interview?
Mixed, both. Angular JS plus Angular 7.
Okay, but this is not available in Angular 7.
Okay.
ng unbindable. You need to write your own by means of DOM sanitizer. Yeah, you can write that. But at the core feature, it's not available in the Angular 2.
Means he told me in short that when we write a for string in
No, please say that.
curly braces, but if you don't want
No, you are.
something to mathematical expressions, then hello.
Yes.
Yes. For mathematical expressions, we can write.
For mathematical expression, there are some libraries. Yeah. So I'll show you. Is a tiny mice is one of the library in the Angular. Right. For the mathematical expressions, you need to use libraries like this. And even in the Angular here, you can use the eval function at any time. I'll show you. So if I want to solve any mathematical function, just print the log of something, log of 10. Let us see, JavaScript log of 10. See, this is a typical mathematical function. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Math and log. I want to print a log of particular function, right?
Yeah.
So straight away you can write something
Hello?
like, yes, can you
Yeah.
hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Okay.
No, just a moment. Hello?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Am I audible to all? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. Now see, so if you want to execute the mathematical expressions, right? Like, so I want to print a log of 10, so I can write math op over here, one function, and here you can say math dot log to the 10, and I can say 100, and you can say return something like this, and you will call that particular function math op like this in the interpolation, and you will get a log of 100. Can you see log of 100 is 2, something like that, and you have written the math expression. You are talking about this expression only or something else? So was the same question or it was something else? Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, it is different. I will discuss with you after that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Am I audible properly?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I am pushing the code. Please go through the code. Data binding, and you can say property binding, and you can push the code. I'm pushing the code. Please check the repository, right? Can someone please share the repository link? Yeah, this is our repository. You can go to the repository and please check the code. Please check the code. Fine, please check the code in a 2 to 3 minutes. Then I'm going to start with something called as event binding. Okay, I'm stopping the screen sharing. Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Any question on this?
Hello, sir. I have one question.
Yes, Mayur.
What is IPAL?
What is?
IPAL. We have used in TS file.
Okay, IPL is one variable. See, IPL is one variable. Name can be anything, not an issue, right? But names in the code would be little bit sensible. So any variable name you can say is IPAL, means is input, what you can say, alert. If is input is alert, you are saying is input is alert is a simple variable, nothing fancy in that, right?
Okay.
Anyone is having any other question? Please feel free to ask the questions. Vaibhav?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Prathamesh? Parag? If you have any questions, okay, please ask. Yeah. Now event binding. What's that? Event binding. See now. Okay, let's have one button. Say input type is button. Value you can say. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Value okay. Right. Let us apply some classes. So aesthetically it will be okay. Class btn info. Okay, so your button would be like this. So your button would be like this. Okay, can you see? Now if I click the button, what is going to happen? Remember that here you are going to click the button, an event is going to be fired by means of one function. You can say CLK is my function. CLK is my function, and here you can say round brackets. Remember that click is equals to CLK, the function that you need to pass. Click is equals to what? CLK. Remember that this is not a HTML's on click. This is a Angular's custom event called as click. And here you are assigning your function, that the function, and I can say console.log, and here I can say button clicked. Button what? Clicked. Now you just go to the project and log and click the button. Can you see? Button clicked. Button clicked second times. Button clicks third time. Are you getting that? Button clicked. So if you want to assign the event, any event, input event, a key event, keyboard event, mouse event, you can capture any events which are standard HTML5 events are there. You just need to find Angular's mapping for them. Likewise, on click is HTML event, and Angular has mapped with the click. Angular has mapped with what? Click. CLK is equals to CLK, and CLK is nothing but this function which has console.log like this. Right. Now let's perform some fancy operation. Right. What I want to do, I want to increase the font size. I want to increase what? Font size of the, or size of the particular text. Now you can say style HTML style font bold. Yeah, we will make it bold or normal. There is something called as font weight property. See, p dot normal, p dot thick, p dot thicker. Okay, and font weight is there. What's that? Font weight. Let's try that. So here you can have style dot font weight is a property, and you can say 200. Font weight is a property. It is what? 200. So let's go here where it is applied. Well, just hold on. I will create one more div class and col. Input type is equals to text, and here you can say style dot weight, sorry, is equals to 300. Style dot font weight is equals to, can you see little bit it is different than this? Can you see this is a little bit darker and this is a little bit faint? So I can say 1000. Now what? Can you see little bit weight is getting increased, right? Now what I want to do, on the click I want to start increasing the weight. So I can say FNTWT is equals to 500. We can say FNTWT is equals to 500. and when someone is going to click this dot fnt weight plus equals to 250. Okay, we are adding 250 per click. So instead of this you can say fnt wt, can say fnt wt. What is the error? JIT compilation. I think we are missing something. FNTWT, which is the 500 FNTWT plus equals to 500. Here you are saying style dot font weight FNTWT, and what is this error? Okay, let's restart the server and see if we get any success. Okay, now see, this is the okay, and I can write that. Can you see weight is getting increased? Look at this, weight is getting increased. So we would be having one more button. An alert or danger, we can say. Same, but here I would like to pass 1. Here I would like to pass what? 2. 1 means increase, decrease, increase and decrease. So this will increase the font, this will decrease the weight, right? So if CLK is 1, if you can say BTN is of type number, remember that. Why I'm doing all these things? Just save it. See here, from the HTML I'm passing 1 and 2. CLK is the function which holds one parameter. If you see, CLK is one function which accepts one parameter. So you need to check if 1 means what? It is increasing. Else just reduce it. Minus equals to, right? Increase it or decrease it. See, now increase. Let me write something. It is not decreasing. Font weight CLK is 1, CLK is 2 here. Okay, let's print the value of button click. Oh, it is the problem, not 1. If BTN is exactly equals to 1, then do this thing, otherwise do this thing. Now it will work for sure. If BTN is exactly equals to 1, then execute this. If BTN is not that 1, do this thing. Let us go here and I'll write that it is increasing. Can you see it is decreasing also? Font weight, it is decreasing, and it is increasing. It is decreasing, increasing, right? Means your click function is working properly, right? Now you can have. Do you have any questions? Hello? Any questions? So concern is that how do you bound with the function? What is the event handling? So click is the event which accepts one function. So click is the event, you are assigning CLK. Click is the event, you are assigning what? CLK to it. Click CLK, click CLK. Right, and any event in the HTML, there are many events, and you can work with many events, right? But this is the foundation I would like to cover on this weekend. On next weekend, I am going to cover practical project implementation, right? Project implementation of data binding by means of some very important things that we will see on the next weekend. If you have any questions, please do ask me. Otherwise, I can push the code. Presently, I have told you only one event, right? Only one event. But as a homework, you need to try mouse events, mouse in, mouse out. See, as a homework, you need to try mouse events, key events, hover events, right? You just need to work with these events by means of Angular. Remember that. You just need to find what is a mapping event of Angular. Like on click, there is a click, right? For the on click, there is a click. On mouse enter, there is a mouse enter in the Angular. You just need to find the mapping events, and then you need to work with it. I'm pushing the code. Here you can say data binding, event binding, right? On the next weekend, I would be starting with what you can say a project implementation of the data binding. But before that, I will request you to watch this video again and practice this much code. If you have any questions, you can ask me. If you have any questions, please ask me. Okay. Can we conclude the call? And we can meet on the next weekend, 11:30 AM, with the topic of data binding and its project implementation. I am going to implement some modules. Okay? Shall we end the call? If you have any queries, please ask me. Otherwise, we can conclude the session. Mayur? Mayur? Shall we conclude?
Okay.
Priyanka? Parag Vaibhav? Priyanka? Yeah, okay. So I'm ending the session. I'm stopping the recording. I already have pushed the code and I'm stopping the recording. We'll meet on the next weekend.